The first time I met her, she wasn't wearing a crown, just blood and starlight. Our ship, the Odyssey Mark V, had crash-landed on the uncharted moon of Xylaris 9 after a warp malfunction tore through our drive core. I was the communications officer, which meant I was the lucky one who got to crawl out of the wreckage, check the emergency beacon, and pray someone, or something, heard us before the planet's twin suns cooked us alive. It wasn't long before we realized we weren't alone. Strange, spindly figures stalked the hills around the crash site, always watching, never approaching. Our sensors picked up energy readings that didn't match any known tech, oscillating in a pattern like heartbeat rhythms. Then one night, they came. They moved like shadows dipped in liquid silver, eyes glowing amber. And at their center was her, the Queen. She was taller than any human, her skin a shade of pale lavender that shimmered with bioluminescent veins. Her armor looked grown, not forged, living carapace that flexed and breathed. When she spoke, her voice echoed inside my head rather than through the air. "Intruders on sacred soil," she had said. "State your claim or perish." Our captain, Reyes, stepped forward to negotiate, but her guards moved like lightning, pinning him to the ground before he could even draw his sidearm. I thought we were done for, so I did the only stupid thing that came to mind. I laughed. It wasn't bravery. It was panic disguised as humor. I said, "If this is your planet, then you're the Queen, huh? Well, you'd make a cute wife." The entire battlefield went still. Even her soldiers froze. Her glowing eyes narrowed on me. Then, with terrifying calm, she stepped forward until her face was inches from mine. "You jest?" she asked. "Yeah," I stammered. "Just, human humor." Her lips curled. Not quite a smile, more like curiosity. "Then I accept." Before I could ask what that meant, she reached out, pressed her palm to my chest, and I felt something burn into my skin. A mark, a living, shifting sigil, biotech that bonded itself to me like molten silver. And from that moment, everything changed. They didn't kill us. Instead, the Queen's forces took us to their city, an organic labyrinth grown into the side of a mountain. The walls pulsed with energy like veins. The air smelled of ozone and flowers that shouldn't exist. We were prisoners, but treated with strange reverence. Whenever she entered the chamber, everyone knelt. Everyone except me. She wouldn't allow it. The others started whispering behind my back, calling me the bonded one. Days passed. She visited often. At first, it was interrogation, questions about humanity, Earth, our weapons, our colonies. But over time, her tone changed. She began asking about art, music, laughter, about what it meant to love. Her name was This. She told me her people were once explorers, like us. But they'd lost something, emotion. Generations of war had driven them to purge empathy from their neural bonds. Only the Queens carried remnants of it, and even then, only as a weakness. "You mock what we cannot understand," she said one evening, her voice soft in my mind. Yet when you smiled at death, I felt something stay. I didn't know what to say. She was terrifying, beautiful, and utterly alien. And yet, there was loneliness in her gaze that mirrored my own. Then came the storm. An enemy fleet entered Xylaris space, machines built to harvest biological energy. The Xylarian defenses were overwhelmed. This prepared for war, but she was losing. Our crew was given a choice: escape with our repaired shuttle, or fight beside her. Reyes wanted to leave. I couldn't. Maybe it was guilt. Maybe fascination. Maybe something deeper. I told her I would stay. She tilted her head, her bioluminescent markings flickering like candlelight. "You would die for me, human." "No," I said. "I'd fight with you." Her expression softened, if that word even applied to a face carved from starlight. Then she stepped closer, her hand brushing the sigil on my chest. It pulsed in answer, syncing with her own glow. "Then we are bound," she whispered. The war was chaos. Her army was unlike anything I'd ever seen. Living ships that screamed as they flew, weapons that sang in frequencies meant to disrupt the nervous system. I rode beside her on the battlefield, wielding a hybrid weapon grafted from human alloy and alien biotech. We fought for days. Her enemies descended like locusts, burning everything. At one point, her ship was struck, and she fell. Without thinking, I dove after her, pulling her from the wreckage as her guards covered our retreat. She looked up at me. Blood, if that's what it was, spilling from a cut along her temple. "You risked everything," she said weakly. "Why?" I laughed again, the same stupid laugh that had started it all. "Guess that's what husbands do, right?" Her eyes widened. And then she did something no Xylarian had done in centuries. She smiled. When the dust cleared, her forces stood victorious. Barely. The other queens, rivals who had watched from afar, bowed before her. And then she turned to me. Before the entire Xylarian court, she spoke in their ancient tongue. My translator implant struggled to keep up, but I caught fragments. Bonded, chosen, eternal consort. The crowd cheered. I realized, far too late, that I'd just become the first human royal consort in alien history. Months passed in the royal citadel. Our crew was allowed to return home. The Reyes promised to send word of my situation. I stayed, partly because I couldn't leave her, partly because the bond wouldn't let me. The sigil had fused with my biology. It tied my life force to hers. We learned from each other. I taught her to laugh properly. She taught me to see the universe in patterns of light. Sometimes she'd reach out through the bond and share memories, entire lifetimes of a people, their rise and fall, their endless wars and songs. And in return, I showed her human dreams. One night, standing beneath the binary moons, she asked, "Do you regret your jest?" I looked at her, this impossible being who could destroy worlds, yet looked at me like I was her anchor. Not even a little. She reached out, touching the mark again, and it flared softly. Then from jest was born destiny, she said. You are mine, as I am yours. Across galaxies, across time. Years later, I stood beside her as emissaries from Earth arrived to establish contact. They looked at me like I'd gone mad, wearing alien armor, the Queen's sigil glowing at my throat. Maybe I had, but as Sayethis took my hand, her telepathic voice brushed my mind like a whisper of silk. Together, we rebuild what was lost. And in that moment, I knew the joke had long since become something real. Something vast enough to bind two species together. Because love, I realized, wasn't exclusive to humanity. It was the most universal force of all. Even the stars understood it.